So, the Immigration Minister of Canada, Ahmed Hussen, called the Immigration Minister of Ontario unCanadian, and he was saying that their government is trying to play on fear and division with their language about how these people are illegally crossing the border, because now if you say that, you're a bigot. These people, these are irregular border crossings. You got to make sure you get it right. If you say it's illegal, then you're a racist and you're a xenophobe and you're saying some very un-Canadian things that are just trying to, fear-monger people or something, right? But it's not fear-mongering, right? Like, this is an accurate description of what these people are doing. They are not legitimate asylum seekers like the government is trying to portray them. They are in a safe country in America to begin with, and they are crossing into Canada into another safe country. Okay? And, we're not even like 50% of these people have been okayed into Canada, which is bullshit in of itself, and 50% of them have been rejected, or more, but they're still in Canada, and we're not deporting them. And what frustrates me is even the Ontario government is not asking for these people to be deported. They're just saying, hey, we want you to give us more money to deal with this, which they should get. It's bullshit because, yes, a lot of them are going to Ontario. They are spending a lot of money. Their resources are spent. Their hospitals are spent. Their shelters are spent. They're putting refugees into dorm rooms and kicking university students out. That is fucking ridiculous. We do not have the infrastructure to take in this many people. But Ahmed Hussein and all this shit and liberals, they're pretty much holding conservative or Ontario hostage and stuff in Saskatchewan because they're also, they don't want to sign the agreement to deal with the refugees that they all went there to sign or something, because nothing about closing the border or fixing the Safe Third Country Agreement Act, nothing about that. It's mostly about who's going to take what, who's going to pay for what, which in the end of the day, it's all taxpayer money. And we're all getting screwed, even if Ontario does get the money and shit. These people need to be deported, okay? The border needs to be closed, and this is what people should be talking about. But they're, trying to get you focused on how evil and racist Ontario is for even talking about it. They're still cucking to a lot of shit. They're still cucking and calling these people asylum seekers to some extent and shit. But ultimately, they're we're not going to pay for it unless you do the carbon tax that we want you to do, unless you implement all of the regulations that all these other provinces are playing ball with. So they're extorting them essentially. And it's this is so crazy what our administration is doing. I don't know. They're gonna look back on this 20 years from now, maybe, when people have woken up, and they're gonna look back at this and be like, oh my god, what the fuck were these people doing? Or maybe they won't. I don't know. You look at the people that left this hold this in high regard, and you look at their history and you're like, wow, these people were horrible. These weren't good people at all. They did horrible things for the country. They ruined the economy. They made everything worse. And then yet they're great people. They're amazing. They can do no wrong. So who knows? Maybe even after the massive debt that he's going to get us in and the massive deficits, which he lied about. He said he was going to get us into a $10 billion deficit each year, and then it tripled each year. It's okay, it's going to be $30 trillion deficits. This next year is going to be another $30 trillion. So they're lying, and a lot. I don't even know what this fucking budget is going to be like this year and all the spending that they did, because they just bought the Trans Mountain Pipeline for $4.5 billion. And like, I think Ontario also, or I mean, BC wants to buy a stake of it for another $2.2 billion. So it's like, how much money are they just throwing away that they could have had from the free market? Like, there was all these investors willing to pay for that fucking pipeline, but they scared them away. Probably with their feminist policies saying like, well, you got to make sure you hire this many people in your board and you got to do this before we even do business with you. But they probably fumbled that deal on purpose, right? Just so they can get a bunch of people working for the government and they could control it. Because the more jobs that the government controls, the more, sway they have. Like, if you are paid, or if you work for the government, you work for hydro, you work for this, you work for that, you're gonna vote for typically leftists. You're gonna vote for people who are calling for strengthened unions or this and that. Like, you're gonna be under their thumb, and they want that. They don't care if it's going to cost everybody more money because it's going to be inefficient and all this shit. They want to be able to say, oh, look at all the jobs we're creating. Look at this. Look at what we're doing. We're providing energy for everybody. Where it's like, you could have saved the taxpayer all that money, the billions and billions of dollars that now we've wasted, and they probably would have, supplied a better product. But then again, governments giving out contracts is pretty shitty too, because a lot of the contracts they give out, there's not much oversight, and you look at whatever company they gave it to, they end up going over budget by like 50-60 million. Like, they did that in my city, I forget, for something my brother was telling me about. Like, they gave them 30 million and they're like, oh, we need 60 million. For a good example, like the snow removal in our city, they already gave them something like $20 million to clear our roads, but by a certain time period, but didn't really snow. And then all of a sudden, after the time period, it snowed massively, and they're like, well, we need another 10 million because you already paid us, even though they didn't do any work, they didn't do anything, right? So the government, they just give away contracts. They don't give away good contracts. What kind of idiot would sign that contract to be like, well, here's 20 million, just hopefully it snows and this won't be a waste. But it's like, they don't think. This is what happens when the government, because you never spend other people's money as efficiently or as well as you spend your own money. So these government officials, they get all this money, they give money to these contractors, and they don't really give a shit what happens later, because it's not their fucking money. But he's coming out and demonizing these people, which is insane. It's like, this is just what a lot of average Canadians do think. People want the border closed. They want this addressed. People don't want to keep bringing in more asylum seekers, but they're going to keep doing it as long as they possibly can do it, as long as they can get away with it, until somebody votes them out, or until people go to the border and start enforcing this shit themselves, because eventually it's going to result in that, because this, we can't just keep letting these people in and be like, well, what you're doing is illegal and you should probably turn back, and if you don't, we're going to detain you. And they're like, yeah, sure, whatever. They get detained, and then we just fast track them. We give them fucking welfare. We put them in housing. We give them job permits and all this shit, right? Like, this is bullshit. They're saying this is, like, Ahmed is saying this is unCanadian. It's like, no, what you're doing is unCanadian. Like, you're a fucking refugee, first of all, to Canada. And you're coming in here and you're exploiting our country even more. Like, shouldn't you feel somewhat indebted to us that we took you in to begin with? But clearly you don't. Clearly you're like, fuck these people. I'm going to bring in as many people as I possibly can. And they understand the stress that this is causing to the social programs, to the shelters, to the hospitals in our cities. They understand the amount of money that this is going to cost the average fucking taxpayer that works every single day. They know that this is going to fucking fuck up housing prices. They this is going to be good for rich business people that want to flood the market with fucking labor. So now they can, pay you less, because now when they pay you less, this just justifies you coming in and asking the government to come and be like, well, we need $15 an hour. So then it just helps them grow even more, right? So it's like they want this to go on forever. And it's like, the same idiot Ahmed Hussen, he went to a restaurant last week to try to quell the amount of people coming across the border. And he spoke to, he went to this restaurant, a Nigerian restaurant, that happened to be like a hangout of a gang, like this Nigerian gang, the Black Axes or something. And it's like a little bit of checking in would have told them all this. Like there's been investigations going on in this restaurant, like into these people for years now, and just a slightly, like just a phone call to the our police or department police and stuff would have let him know who these people really are. But he's too, like, I don't know what's wrong with his government, why they like to take pictures with like terrorists and criminals or something. Like, I don't know if this is just what leftists like to do. And then they come out and they act like it's, oh, we didn't know, I had no idea, right? But really, like, him going there, it just looked like he was endorsing these people, and are like granted, these Nigerian gangs, they're just doing like a lot of scams, and like the typical Nigerian scams on the phone and stuff like that. But still, it's like, what the fuck? Like, these people are inept. Like, the excuse from his spokesperson was like, oh, well, he sees like 10 people a week and we don't have time to vet everybody and all this shit. It's like, why are you seeing 10 people every weekday? Like, that's what he said, like 10 people every weekday he sees, like every day. It's like, why is he not doing work? Why is he going and meeting and shaking hands with that many people? Like, or like, are you fucking kidding me? You're like, there's got to be a better vetting process, or he's got to stay in his fucking office and do his fucking job. But this administration, all they do is go and run and take pictures, and then Trudeau shows people his gay socks, and he goes and runs with his shirt off and shit. And like, it's just photo op after photo op after, look at the work we're doing, look at how much we're helping you Canadians and all this shit. But it's like, no, you're selling us down the fucking river. This is what you're doing. And they're going to do it through, immigration. They're going to do it through the carbon taxes. They're going to, like, just destroy our fucking economy. Like, this must be their intentions, because just the stupid fucking policies, the stupid ways that this administration has been acting has got to be, it can't be, it's got to be on purpose. Like, people look at the Trump administration, it's chaotic, it's horrible. It's like, this guy, he has achieved absolutely nothing. Like I said, the India deal, he went there and he came back, he was like, oh, we did $1 billion worth of sales, and I got this deal through. But then you look at the numbers, 750 million of that is going to India, and 250 million of that is coming to Canada. So we lost out on that deal. Like, this is just basic math, and he's acting like it's a win. He can't do anything, and all we needs to do to stop this tariff fight right now is to stop supply management. That's it. Because Canada is going to hurt a lot fucking worse in this trade war, including a lot of parts of Europe. Like, America is our largest trading partner, and because Trudeau fucked up on all these trade deals, or on these pipelines that we have going into other countries, and we could have been trading resources and oil and our energy with other markets. But because they fucked up a lot of these deals, now we're even more dependent upon America for our resources. So when they do, come in turn and do tariffs on us, it hurts us way more, right? So this is our own fault by not diversifying our markets when we had the opportunity. And now, you can't say fuck you anymore, because we are going to be hurting a lot more. But, I don't know. I don't think the Trudeau, they care. They know they have the media on their side, so they're gonna keep it going for as long as they can, until they have riots in the streets telling people to make a deal or something, because we're just gonna be getting hurt more and more unless they figure out a way to get all of these resources to different other markets. But good luck with doing that. And it's really stupid that we would have to diversify and get go to all these different markets when we do have a massive market at our southern border that we could trade with, and that we should trade with. And it's stupid that we're holding up all this trade just to protect some fucking farmers, right? And but that's money talks. These politicians, they don't need to be convinced by too much. So if one person comes along and offers them a lot of money, or a lot of this, or a lot of power, they're gonna take it. This is how these democracies work. That's why they will always fail, because they never actually work for the people. They work for whoever pays them the most, or whatever mob votes for them the most. It just becomes either like an oligarch type thing, where these companies are controlling shit, or it's like, mob rule or something. These will always fail. They're not sustainable. And, we see the results of this, because a lot of this immigration, a lot of these people that are bringing in right now, is just to pay for the social programs that they have all promised us, right? And people will look at it and be like, that makes kind of no sense, because a lot of these people, they're low-skilled labor. How are they going to pay for this? But they can, if the math works out, if you bring in a massive amounts of people, right? Like if you brought in 100 really, really smart people that are going to start companies that are going to, employ all these people, bring all your money, yeah, they would bring those people in. But you can't, it's hard to know that. So if you just bring in massive swaths of people, then they're all at least paying a little bit. So what they're doing, they're just kicking the can down the road, because they're hoping, all these people stay young for as long as they can, contributing little bits of tax money in order to pay for what they have, what they're trying to give out right now, like Social Security and, all these entitlements, so it's just essentially a Ponzi scheme, right? And eventually this Ponzi scheme, they're going to run out of money. They're going to, automation is going to kick in. All these people are not going to have jobs. And then, there goes all your fucking cheap labor contributing into the economy that you're trying to keep going, right? So, we're heading down a really scary path in Canada, because, having all these different groups together from different cultures, different, all together, and when shit hits the fan, things are not going to look very pretty, because people are just naturally tribalistic. They're going to go with their own group, and they're going to fight within their own group for the meager resources left within Canada after it gets pillaged by the Liberals or the NDP, essentially. But that's all I pretty much had to say. If you like my content, subscribe and have a good day. See ya.